According to notable reporter Jeff Snyder, if Josh Brolin declines the offer for Hal Jordan, Matthew McConaughey and Ewan McGregor are also in the mix for Hal Jordan. How would you feel about Matthew McConaughey playing Hal Jordan?
I think he would crush it. I think that I just don't. I'd be shocked if they're willing to pay him the kind of money because Matthew McConaughey is a list.
He would be the perfect mentor too.
Yeah.
Like he has the voice, the mannerisms. Like that would be actually interesting. Ewan, I just don't see Ewan as Hal Jordan.
I gotta say, I really like Matthew McConaughey. I always like him. I think he's a great actor. He seems like a really solid guy, with legit values, and he's not like he doesn't come across as like one of those phony types. I think he would crush it as Hal Jordan. I think he's like the next best thing under Tom Cruise for that role.
Yeah, that's the best one we've heard so far, other than Tom Cruise. So make that happen, y'all. Screw Josh Brolin at this point. Just go for Matthew McConaughey.
And by the way, this brings like another glaring hole in all the fan casts because this is a very well-known A-lister that nobody fan casted for Green Lantern.
100%. Because James Gunn is cooking. And bro, also the thing is that James Gunn is watching everything. So I feel like whoever people are choosing for fan cast, he's just going the opposite.
Yeah. And you really never know what someone sees.
So the internet has been swirling for the past day or two. So yesterday we heard a rumor that Josh Brolin was offered the role of Hal Jordan in the Lantern series. So let me just hear how you feel about this casting. How do you feel about the story, and we'll go from there.
So first of all, like we said from early on, or I know I did at least, that it seemed very obvious when James Gunn said that they were looking for someone. I forget the age range, but long story short, the age range they were looking for the Hal Jordan character was significantly older than the age range for the John Stewart character. So that made it obvious to me that they are going to pick John Stewart to be the main Green Lantern, which is fine. Listen, I'm a fan of both of them. I got into Hal first because I knew of Hal first, and then I ended up getting into John, and John's really cool in his own right. But now that there's the rumor is out that Josh Brolin has been offered the role, and I know the internet is kind of not happy about it, but it seems like most people are holding back on being overly critical, which is interesting because people haven't held back on being critical of James Gunn with the DCU. But on this instance, I think people haven't. I think people really are not happy with it. They're like, I don't see the vision. And face value, I don't really see it either. However, here's the thing. I know Josh Brolin is a super talented actor. I would argue he is probably I wouldn't say he's an A-list actor, but he's pretty damn close. And I would say I do consider him an elite level talent, even though he's not an A-list. That basically meaning I think his skill level is there, but I don't think his fame level is like comparable to a guy like Ryan Gosling or something of that nature, and someone of that nature. And listen, I think that Josh Brolin is a super talented actor, and he probably did some kind of audition or screen test and blew the right people away. That's what I think happened. And I don't think that James Gunn, if he picked Josh Brolin, I don't think he would have offered the role to Josh Brolin without good reason. And I do think that Josh Brolin has a couple of things going for him. He is, someone who's super confident in himself. But I think like a lot of my issues with fan castings they are purely based on looks and the personality of the actor or the few roles that we've seen the actor play. And obviously the most famous roles they've done are the ones that stay in people's minds. But people forget that that's what acting is. And a lot of the best castings have been actors that played a role that was different than the roles we've already seen them in. And I think that a lot of the fan castings and the fandom as a whole leaves so little room for actors to get to kind of surprise us in a role and all critique the casting like before anything is even official or anything like that. And the thing with the internet is when you put information out there, you really don't get to control how it plays out. You know, people will put out this podcast. Someone will be like, I don't know, you know, James Gunn may have told one or two people that he was thinking about casting Josh Brolin. Now that, you know, someone ended up leaking it to Deadline or whoever it was, and now it's on the internet, and you have a lot of people who are they're not, I wouldn't say people are being harsh on Josh Brolin, but people are definitely not in favor of the casting. And I don't think at face value, it makes sense to not be, but I also think that Josh Brolin isn't so far off from what Green Lantern is. I think we just haven't seen him be a cocky, humorous type of guy. But I do think that we have seen him be a guy that is absolutely confident in himself. And for a guy that is confident in himself, kind of looks the role already. It's not a big, they're not asking him to make a big leap to be a little humorous and cocky, not confident in the role. He's not that far off already from what Hal Jordan is. And I just think that these fan castings things are a poison and detrimental to the distance that the comic book genre could go in movies.
Yeah, great take, bro. Great take. The funny thing is that you know, so I've been doing this thing, bro, where I've been writing down my fan castings on a notes document, and I had him down for Martian Manhunter. He was one of the people there, mostly because of the fact, you know, with Thanos, you didn't really see his face, and he has such an iconic voice. I thought he would be perfect for a role like that. I even had him down for Darkseid as well. I thought that he would be a great the Darkseid if they were to, when they bring him into the DCU. So with Josh Brolin, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was, to be honest, shocked that Brolin is being brought up to play the role. I mean, he is 56, which also has me kind of shocked that he was eyed. Because like from the documents that I read and from the stuff that we've covered in the past, it always said that they were looking for someone that's in their late to mid 40s. You know what I mean? So I thought that they were going to go for someone that's going to be like, you know, 41, 42, that Jensen Ackles age, you know what I mean? If that makes sense. So this really, really shocked me. But I have been hearing what a lot of fans have been saying, and we're going to talk about this when we talk about Kyle Rayner next too. A lot of people have talked about how the Parallax storyline could possibly be adapted into this Green Lantern show. And if you don't know what the Parallax story is, just to make a long story short, right? Hal Jordan basically takes out the Green Lantern corpse and he becomes a freaking supervillain. And the comic book, that Parallax storyline is literally insane. So if that's the route that they're going, it would make sense that they would cast a older Hal Jordan. And you know, but I'm going to be honest, you know, I do think that from the work that I've seen Josh Brolin do, can he play the role of Hal? Yes. Josh is a great actor. He is proven. He's been, I mean, this dude has Goonies. I mean, come on. He's a legend. And not to mention he played the greatest villain in film history. I mean, as Thanos. And he made emotion show from a CGI face. I mean, if that isn't enough proof, then what the heck is? But you know, definitely not my first choice. And you know, Jerry, I want to know how you feel about a lot of people saying that, you know, that the Parallax storyline could be adapted if they are casting a Hal Jordan this old. And because it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because a lot of people are saying that online, and what kind of made me think is like, does that mean that the first Justice League villain could possibly be Parallax? But for that story to happen, you have to build up to that, and so that will be weird. So, how do you feel about that? About fans talking about that, even though, like, I don't really think that story is even happening anytime soon. But
Yeah, I think it's way too intense to go there already. I mean, we don't know anything. All we know is Josh Brolin's a little old. That's it. Like,
yeah, for sure,
that's a big jump.
100%.
You know, I don't know that I would put it past them to shake things up with the core and the Guardians. For if you don't know and you're not familiar with the Green Lantern comics, the Guardians basically are these little blue guys in space that are the Guardians. They govern the Green Lantern Corps. So Hal is a lantern, John is another lantern, but there are also plenty of other lanterns from other planets, and they don't look like humans. There was even a joke about one of them, I think, looking like a fish in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of them look like fish, so it was a funny joke. But, so they basically govern the Green Lantern Corps, and they have the book of Oa, and Oa is where they govern from, and that's their home. So I could see them shaking things up with the Guardians. There's a lot of stories where things go wrong with the Guardians. Parallax just seems like a really big jump, and I don't think there's enough. I don't like theories where people take large leaps. Like I'm the kind of guy that I'm like, X, Y, and Z is happening, so I think something might be in the story. I'm not going to say, oh, Josh Brolin's 56 years old, so that means there's going to be this Parallax story. Like, that's a little crazy to me.
And bro, that's how I felt, because like there's a big difference between saying you could see World's Finest happening, because obviously Superman and Batman are going to be in it, which is very possible, which we're going to talk about later on in our docket. But saying that Parallax, like when I heard those words, bro, I was like, let's stop right there, and just so you guys know, I I went through darn near almost every Green Lantern comic. So the Parallax story is a really, really deep, intense story, and there's a lot of buildup. There's a lot of things that have to happen in order for the Parallax story to even happen. And coming from like what I think James Gunn mind is, at least, is like, I have to educate fans on who the Green Lanterns are. I think that the grandos of fandom doesn't really know much about, like, the Oa or the Guardians or the different types of Green Lantern Corps, and or the different types
Spectrum.
the different type of Lantern Corps, and all of that. And to be honest, there's so much of that beautiful universe, bro, that they can unpack before they have to get to the story that kind of tarnishes all that. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's like the end game for, or it is one of the end games now. And by the way, this story did get retconned as well. So, that's another piece that a lot of people don't want to talk about, because after this happens, it's never brought up again. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because just to give you guys context, the reason why they brought in Kyle Rayner in, the reason why they did this whole story was because of the fact that they wanted to sell more comics, because Green Lantern wasn't really selling that well, and it didn't work. So why would they adapt a story that didn't really work well? You know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I'm at with all that crap.
Right. It reminds me of my hope to see like the Clone Saga in a Spider-Man movie, which I know is never going to happen. Like there's so many reasons why. And the other thing is, a lot of the best Green Lantern stories, Stevie touched on this, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid down, and Parallax is one of those.